Winning, that feeling that just never gets old. Welcome back to the Don Pod. I'm Sam. I'm here with Nathan. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Sam. How are you?
Better than you, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I'm a bit snowed under with the coldy, fluty sort of thing, but I'll survive. I'll troop it through. There might be some snotty and sneezy sniffling, stuff like that.
I can confirm your microphone's quite good at cutting that out, though. So
good.
Happy days. Happy days. Essendon 17-12, 114, defeating
our main rival, one of our biggest rivals,
biggest
Sam.
rival of the club.
Biggest.
Yep. 9 goals, 12, 66. Merrett, 38 touches, 10 score involvements, 10 tackles and 8 clearances. Red Dog, 32 touches, 25 kicks, 96% effective, 10 marks for the North Melbourne Rabble Football Club. Simpkin, 41. That's quite high, obviously. And Jai
impressive. You played well.
Stevenson? Jaden Stevenson. Stevenson, 34. In front of the sticks, Stringer 5, Stewart 3, Wright, Jones, Langford 2, Merrett, Guelphy, and Redman. Now you can get your celebration out. 1 for North, Zerha 4. Loved every single one of them he did, even though they were losing quite considerably.
He's got some attitude issues that he thinks he's probably a bit better than what he actually is, but good on him.
Time and place, yep. Anderson, Scott, Coleman, Jones, Goldstein, and Turner with singles.
I don't think him and Kelly got along well.
No, actually, I did notice Kelly took a couple of real friggin' cheap shots at him. Like when they were on the ground trying to elbow him in the head. Jesus, Kel, don't get suspended. Just calm down.
They certainly did not like each other. I saw them wrestling a few times and there was a lot of push and shove going on.
Good. I like it.
Yeah, no problem.
Some of the big stories. Shield out before the first bounce. Caldwell with a calf in the third quarter. Haven't heard anything about Caldwell.
We're starting to fall apart, Sammy.
We are. Well, we fell apart in the middle.
Statistically, yeah.
28 to... Oh, wait, no, that might have been total. Anyway, 6 to 20 centre clearances. So we lost 14 in the middle, which was just... If you weren't already aware of what Shield now brings to the team, there it is. He leads the competition or led the competition before this week for centre clearances. We got our backsides handed to us in that regard, but that meant our halfbacks, particularly Redman and Zerk Thatcher.
Well, I did hear that.
Out.
Yeah, I did hear the coach say after the game that they found another way to score because they hadn't been as good as scoring. Well, we had most of our scoring from those centre clearances or clearances in general throughout the last 5 or 6 weeks of good footy. Whereas this week we got a lot of our scoring from the back half. Yeah. So that's a good thing. I mean,
well, it's good. It was kind of forced
in context with North Melbourne
because we were so badly beaten out of the middle, but. It is good to have options, and I mean, obviously Redman with the number of disposals and number of kicks, but he took a lot of intercept marks as well.
Yep.
In good positions.
Didn't knock himself out or anything this week.
Didn't die, which was nice. But yeah, it's good going forward that we can score in a number of different ways. I guess I just would have liked it maybe not to have been quite so one-sided. I think if you're starting to lose that midfield battle, my only issue is that we weren't able to change anything to turn it around. That was it. It was just we got belted out of the middle all day.
Well, it was send Stringer in there and watch him fumble it, or send Hobbs and Perkins in there and let them sort of...
We did do a bit of that where it was either Stringer or Draper would kind of get first hands and you'd think, oh, we're away, and then they'd fumble or tap it straight to a North Melbourne player, and then, that was it. But anyway, we won by 40-something points. I can't do maths that quickly. So 48 points. We'll go with that. Can't complain too much, but
no one will listen.
I think I want to be able to see things change a little bit just to try and turn things around in games because you need to be able to do that.
I think the concern will be over the next 3 weeks is that, I imagine Shield miss the rest of the year if he's got a calf complaint. That if they're not going to play this week or next week, you wouldn't just bring him back for the last week. That'd be a bit... Maybe you would. I don't know. Parrish, I'm not sure how far away he is. McGrath, he was still a week or so, wasn't he? And if Caldwell's, if he's got another calf that could be at least 2 or 3, then that might be the end of our sort of main centre line clearancing team. Besides Merrett, who did a wonderful job on the weekend, an absolute blinding job carrying the boys in the middle. So we might see those numbers persist over the next 3 weeks. Really, like we might have to find other ways to score, or we might just lose, which is fine. That's no big deal. We're not in a situation where it matters.
In this scenario, obviously fine. We won comfortably. It didn't really matter. But
North Melbourne are pretty rubbish, though. Let's be honest.
Well, they are, but then we shouldn't be letting them get such easy ball. That's my issue.
Yeah,
and if we're playing a good side, we need to be able to do something because you get injuries. We're not always going to have Shield, and we're not always going to have, McGrath's not really been a clearance player, and Parrish has been out on and off all year. So it's really only Shield that was the major change.
Yeah. So are you saying this is a weakness that we need to...
Yes, we can't just cop that because Dylan Shield didn't play.
Well, Parrish and Dylan Shield didn't play is the reason I would say.
When Parrish hasn't been in the side, we've still been fine. Shield has just been able to carry the load.
Well, it's been Shield and Merrett.
You can say both of them, but just the ability to change and to try something different and to...
Well, I think that... I understand what you're saying, but I think that clearance specialist teams or players that are pretty good at clearances are, they're a certain type of player. Like you think of Oliver, I guess his numbers would be high. And guys like Petrarca and that, they're those bullish sort of strong players, or they're really super quick.
Is it just a little bit concerning that we did that and we did that against North Melbourne?
Yeah, massively.
So that's
but it says, I think it just says how important Shield and Parrish are, and that behind them, the next tier, and that's Hobbs and Perkins, and I don't think it's Stringer because he's back in that other tier. They're still not quite up to that level. I think that's all it says for me, which is fine because they've still got years to learn that craft and get better at it.
Yep. I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with that second tier being Hobbs and the young guys, and you can't really put too much on them, but just I didn't see anything change. That was my main issue.
That's fair enough. Yeah, you didn't see anything change,
but we were just bad the whole game.
Change is as good as a holiday, as they say, Sam.
They do say that.
I don't know why. I've been on holidays.
Well, I've had change. It wasn't anywhere near as good as a holiday.
Yeah.
On Mr. Merrett.
This morning, that wasn't like a holiday at all.
Moving swiftly along. On Mr. Merrett and his wonderful game.
Zachariah.
10 score involvements, 10 tackles, and 8 clearances out of 22. So, high percentage. He is the highest fantasy points scorer since 2016. Now, I don't have averages. It's just a total number of points. 15,338. McRae second with 15,000. Then it drops off to low 14,000s with Luke Parker. So he's pretty clear.
He's been a super consistent player for us for a long period of time. He's not often below 20 possessions, in a game. He's always thereabouts. And it's really shown this year. That elite kick of his into our 50 is really under pressure, usually in tight. He just does a little chip that hits targets. And
the last 2 weeks, his kicking inside 50 has been amazing.
Yep. Well, what is that? 10 score involvements in this game, which is, I think one behind Stringer, who would kick 5. Yeah, so he's it's a really important play. And I guess if we're thinking about, we're always thinking about the next tier of that level. Who's the guy who's the young kid in our team that can do that as well at the moment? Who do you think that is?
That can do it in the future?
Yeah.
Hobbs.
Do you think Hobbs is good enough by foot?
No, not yet. But he's a first-year player, so
fair enough.
He's got the other attributes.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw something stupid out there, but that Jai
Menzies.
Jai Menzies, obviously, I think he's got just a little glance. You just look for something. We always talk about this when you watch a young kid play. You look for something. And I saw something in that kid and went, oh, yeah, you've got some talent. He was very nervous. You could see he was clearly a nervous young player, which you would be going out in your first game. And the whole, is it better to be a Medi sub or not? I don't know. But maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I can understand why he was. But he did some things that I thought, he's going to make the level.
Well, he had 10 touches in essentially a quarter of football. He played 25% game time. Hit Stewart with a really nice kick with one of his first kicks. Got a goal assist out of that. But it was in the right spot.
You could see he was thinking about what, he was trying to do things.
Yep. Commentary commentated on it.
That's
commentary mentioned it too, that he was just thereabouts. Wherever the ball was kind of going, he was there.
Yep.
You can't teach that shit. So
no, forwards, pure forwards. And I saw that in that Wanganeen kid too. When he played, you can see he's got the craft. He just is still a bit small in size and The tank's probably a little bit low too, but he's got the craft and he's got the ability. So if they work on him, I think he's got potential.
We can chuck a Davey in there. We'll have a pretty dangerous little forward line.
It will be interesting what our forward line will be next year. Again, I think that guys like Snelling and Guelphy, they're going to have pressure on their spots.
Absolutely. Mention Redman just quickly. 25 kicks out of his 32, 96% efficiency. May have had a few easier balls, I guess, but to take his first 21 kicks and every single one of them hit a target, that's elite. I don't care how easy it is. That's elite.
No, super elite.
On efficiency, we went at 83%, which is insanely high for the game.
It feels very unlike us, to be honest.
It does. Well, you say that. Our average over the course of this year is 76.6%, which is number one. We are the most
fascinating.
effective.
Yeah.
That's all disposals, not kick.
Yeah.
76.6%. The league average is 69.2. So we're well above and number one for kicking. Oh, sorry, for disposal efficiency, which blew my mind. I didn't expect that.
No, I wouldn't have said that if someone had asked me where would you put us. I would have put top 10.
Possibly a little bit more boosted by the 83, but still, that 76% across the course of the year is higher than the league average. So that's a good little stat.
I think that's something you can build a team on, like the ability to be good by foot and hand.
And particularly second half of the season, it's been more meaningful disposal too. We've kind of gone forward and sideways, but then forward still to change angles and stuff. So it's been a lot more meaningful.
Yep, 100%.
So I don't want to gloss over Red Dog. It was a pretty amazing game. Managed a goal. Class. And I think I like him more because we questioned him at the start of the year and what his role was, and he's been unreal. So,
well, our question, and I'm comfortable with it at the start of the year, was that with Kelly coming in, it was like, well, how's that going to fit? Because we thought Heppel's not going to go out. They're not going to probably take Hind out. So is Kelly going to be playing for Red Dog? Are they playing for the same spot? And so we were really interested. And they're not going to bring Kelly and not playing. Like, you don't drag a guy from another club and not playing. So we're real fascinated with that. And
we now know they're very different players and we were very wrong. But he's been unreal.
It's interesting because the first half of the year, Kelly played a type of role that is different to he's playing now. He's playing much more of a lockdown defender role, which I don't think he was playing at the start of the year. And that might have been
a couple of mad runs yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
I saw him a couple of times
way up forward.
Yeeting up the ground. I think he just wanted to get a goal on Zerha just to go back and go, that's one back, mate.
Yeah, true.
And surely if a defender kicks one on you as a forward, that's at least worth two or three. Yeah.
I do laugh at the commentary now because there was one point where Zerha kicked four for the game, didn't he?
Yep.
Must have kicked his fourth somewhere in the third quarter. And the commentary, and he's kicked four so far. And I'm going, remember back in the day when players used to kick 10 or 12? Like now we get really excited if they kick 5. It's a massive day out. He's kicked 3 at half time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jakey had 3 at quarter time.
Yeah, and they make a big deal. Like, I remember Matty Lloyd used to kick like 6
9
at
half time once.
Yeah.
Forget where I was going with that. Anyway, Zerha drove me insane, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kel did want to get one back on him. Speaking of defenders, we need to talk about one.
Nick Hind.
No, not yet. Hang on. Good things first.
All right, mate. Sorry.
If you let me finish, possibly the best rags to riches story.
Rags to riches?
Of 2022 for the Dons. And just unexpected. Very unexpected. Who am I talking about?
James Stewart?
No. You've had 2 guesses, so I'll just tell you now.
I'm not very good at trivia. You know this.
The hyphen.
Oh, the hyphen do love.
Zerk Thatcher. Out of absolutely nowhere. I don't know where it's come from. I just don't know. He was class against Larky. Just there all the time. Didn't give away free kicks. Larky got one perfect kick to him and Zerk Thatcher absolutely channeled his inner Dustin Fletcher and just somehow got a fist in there. We scored at the other end from that.
Did you note how many times the commentators said that he kept him to 4 touches? He's only had 4 possessions. I
will note that he did kick 3 points, Larky. So if he'd kicked 3 goals, we might be a bit less glowing. But
still did a very, very awesome.
Spoils and the fact he didn't give away free kicks.
Here's the question I have, Sam. With BZT playing the type of football he is at the moment, and he is best 22 walk up
without a question.
Without a doubt. Hard pressed to say, who's. Do we have an abundance of riches now as tall defenders?
I wouldn't say we have an abundance. What's the depth? Reed.
Well, no, not just Reed, but Michael Hurley can still play that role, even though if he plays on next year.
I wouldn't factor him in.
All right. Well, then there's Josh Eyre.
Again, pretty hard to comment.
Okay, so there's no abundance. I'll take it all back.
Well, Reed's in.
We're missing someone. I feel like I'm missing someone.
Reed's the next one in, but it'll be interesting if they're fighting for spots because there's not room for both of them.
Oh.
But as far as it goes, full circles and whatnot, Zerk Thatcher, amazing. That single spoil alone just fills me with joy.
Francis?
Yeah, again, probably not the same kind of height.
Nick Cox?
Not a key defender. Not
but
yet.
There's talk that he'll end up.
But not yet.
Yep. No, I'm just going through some names.
Just Googling. Yep.
No, I'm doing Google. I looked at our bloody AFL website. Team site. I'm just thinking about. I know there was other players when I was thinking about this the other day. Well, that's about it. Oh, hang on, I forgot one. Garrett McDonald.
Good one. Moving on from that swiftly well-made point. Zerk Thatcher, yeah, great game. The rest of the back line really, didn't notice them kind of scenarios.
Oh, Ridley played a good game. I think we could talk about Hind briefly.
We can talk about Hind and his terrible moments.
He has real brain farts, like real serious brain farts, where he just
3 times. He just dropped the football when he went to kick it.
Well, even though he didn't even go to kick one. He had I think it wasn't Zerha, it was the other one.
Oh God, bless you.
All right. Had what's the other forward's name?
Larky?
Larky came at him when he was playing on from a kick on in. Sorry.
Yes.
And he just ran up to him and dropped the ball, and
yep,
he got the ball off him, and then sort of luckily we got away with it. But Jesus Christ.
We gave away. You sort yourself out there. We gave away some goals in the last quarter. We really did. Just could not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Went for a couple millionaire kicks. They didn't come off, and they got goals in the last quarter.
And the other thing, one other thing too about Hind is that I noticed when he's running after someone, it doesn't ever seem to be as quick as when he's running with the ball.
Near as quick. Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Buddy. Oh, you've just froze. You sneezed that hard.
Sorry. Oh, no.
You've gone away. Oh, no.
I'm coming back.
Go live on Facebook, they said.
Oh, all right.
Fucking Dwayne Russell and his chemtrails and whatever that Nick Hind seems to leave players in. Yeah, it's only when he's got the ball. He doesn't chase anywhere near as hard. Speaking of Dwayne Russell, last quarter, Sam Durham had the ball, top of 50.
Yep.
And he talked about him being Menzies for about 2 minutes.
Really?
No one corrected him.
I must have gone out for a wee or something.
He's got the Essendon mullet. I was like, yeah, because it's fucking Durham.
I do remember that conversation, but I was getting a drink or something at the time, and I do not like him as a commentator. He's on my highest list of most disliked.
But they're just idiots. And Jonathan Brown was commenting at one point about
he made mistakes.
How confused. Oh, he did stuff up some words. I can forgive you for that though, because he was commenting on James Stewart how he's come back as a forward. Do you have any idea of Essendon's VFL over the past 2 weeks? All you'd have to do is just go look at 2 VFL games and go, he's been playing forward. It was not a surprise.
4 goals and 5 goals. Yeah,
it was not a surprise to any Essendon supporter.
No,
and yet the bloke that's paid quite a bit of money. No, he's playing forward. That's a bit of a surprise.
Well, look, in their defence, I do, with things like that, I do think they've got to cover the whole 18 teams where we're focusing on just one.
Surely
I agree with you. I'm just giving them a little bit of slack on that one. I don't like it when they can't identify a player.
Yeah, that's pretty piss poor. But surely someone in Fox Sports team says to them, Stewart's played forward in the VFL for the past 3 weeks and he's kicked 4 goals in every game. So
I would assume they've got experts that are behind the mic not speaking.
Exactly. So
all the statisticians.
Can you let Jonathan Brown sit there and be an absolute cockhead?
How can you let Jonathan Brown be on television? But that's a whole nother question.
Oh, he's all right, but just...
No, he's not my favourite.
It's infuriating when we know what's going on better than they do. That shouldn't happen.
We are experts, Sam. We are. Anyway, we're off track. We're all talking about commentators.
Well, there's not a lot else to talk about, really.
We won. We're winners.
We did win.
Well, I will raise a question for you.
Yes, please.
And the group. If Caldwell's not fit, depending on how serious the calf is,
yes.
And if Shields, his is also a few weeks, do we just throw a few of the kids around in the last 3 weeks and see what we've got? Like, for example, Jai Menzies plays full games for the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
And if that's at the cost of guys, hang on, let me finish. Cost of guys like Snelling and Guelphy, who we know what we've got, so we don't, for whatever reason.
It can't be at the expense of Guelphy because he's been playing good football.
No issues. Probably. I would throw maybe Hobbs in there, who looks to be. I'm still worried about that shoulder of his. He still looks a bit sore with it. So
yeah, probably a good chance to talk about next week. GWS up in Sydney on Saturday. Good game from.
We get to have a look at a few of our next year players.
In terms of ladder position, closely matched teams.
You could watch Taranto's up close and see how we look at a Bombers jumper. You can sort of
cost us too much. Don't even. On paper, looks like a good game. One I would hope to win still. But to answer your question, so really we're talking about who comes in, who goes out. So we're assuming Shield doesn't come back. We're assuming Caldwell with a calf, you'd have to think is at least a week. Like I wouldn't think see him coming back.
Unless it was just a pure strategy that we'll say he's got a calf and we'll get Menzies on.
Possibly. Menzies keeps his spot. I had no issue with that. In terms of VFL form, Voss has been kicking multiple goals every week.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him coming in. Cutler had 36 this week.
Makes a great sub
as well. Makes a great sub, but could also come in and play a role as depth. I have no issues if he's depth.
I wouldn't mind seeing Snelling out.
Wouldn't mind seeing Snelling. I think with the scenario and injuries and all that, I don't think that's going to happen.
He still hasn't kicked a goal in the 6 games he's come back for.
He can't kick 5 meters.
Well, there was another incident where he had a shot about 40 out.
About 40 out this time. It was a bit further out.
And you could see all the players like, he can't kick it. And they're all trying, and he handballed it to Hind on the wrong side. And then Hind just ran into a bloody player and kicked it and it was horrible. Yeah.
And that's another thing on Hind. Dumb. You know what foot you are. Run the other. Or don't call for it. Be smart.
Or how about just bloody Snelling try and kick the distance?
Oh, it was fall 20 meters short. Don't be daft.
He can only kick 25. But I've seen him on the run kick nearly 40 metres. Like, I look at him go, he's on the kick.
It's the set
Why don't you just get a bit momentum up, buddy, and you set shot?
He's only little. He's got to kick over a bloke on the mark. Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Anyway, that'll be
His legs seem smaller than everyone's.
Be my changes. I think Voss, although he's not necessarily high possession, but he's kicking goals. So I'm happy for that. And at this point, when we've got nothing to lose, by all means, if that's the change we have to make, I'd rather see Voss over Cutler.
Yep, definitely. Because we know what we've got with Cutler.
Even if it is the sub. But
I'll tell you something
that keeps his spot.
Yep.
I have no issue with that. 3 goals. Pete played ruck. Pete was still able to have an impact, and Stewart's far more capable as a forward than Phillips or Draper, for that matter, even though Draper's,
Draper will have a ping from anywhere.
But, yeah.
I thought the Stewart experiment, which I did talk about last week, and you poo-pooed the hell out of it.
I didn't poo-poo the hell out of it.
If you don't mind me getting up on my high horse right here, Sam, but quickly...
I'm going to shut you down, but you can get up there.
I think we could go back to the audio of last week. You were like, no way, Stewart.
No. I don't think that was my issue. I think your point.
I remember it.
Your point was more about playing kids, and I will said, well, Tom Stewart, wrong Stewart. James Stewart isn't a kid. So
but he's still only 28, 29.
I have no issue with him coming in, and the game he played, it worked really well. Happy to cop that. But for the purposes of playing the kids, he's not the answer.
But not necessarily. It's playing the difference. Well, it's playing what we could be doing next year. He's definitely in the calculations for next year, and the year after. Really, he's 29. He's seriously got 3 years of football easily in him.
Yep.
And if he could kick, if you could look at it saying, if he can play that role, kick 30-ish or 20-ish goals in a year, and then you've got Wright kicking, say 40-something, and rucking, and you got Draper rucking and maybe kicking 5 to 10. Then Jones can kick, so if he could kick 30, Stringy, we know, can kick 40. All of a sudden, there's your forward, 120, 140 goals.
Yeah. it works better almost. And I've been anti-peak playing ruck because I want to see the big fella kick goals. But so many things worked really well yesterday. And again, you got to look at the opposition and go, well, North are a fair way off. So,
but one of their strengths is rucking, and that Goldstein's.
Well, Goldie had a really good game, and Draper still outplayed at hit-outs, won the hit-outs and that sort of thing. But Goldie did a lot around the ground. So, but in terms of the forward line only, Wright was interesting because he got fairly well beaten by Mackay for most of the game, but was still able to get a couple of goals just through good ball use from us.
100%.
Which is what Larkey struggled with down the other end.
Should pick 3.
Stewart took 2 nice big pack marks plus the lead.
Well, I think he finished with 6 or 7 marks for the game.
Yep, good hands, really good hands in traffic. Jones took 2 nice contested marks as well, and then Stringer was able to kick the 5. We talked about Stringer, but also kind of roll through the midfield. That worked a lot better. So that's possibly the answer. More so than Draper and Phillips, even though I think Draper and Phillips has worked.
Well, I think Draper 100% has worked, but what Draper and Wright produces is, so if you think, so Wright would be up against, say for if it's Melbourne, for example, Wright would be up against Jackson, which I don't mind as a matchup.
Well, is that the game where you cop it and go, well, maybe we need to play Phillips?
No, I think you stick with Wright because Wright and Jackson is a good matchup. Right, like, I understand Jackson's going to be quicker, but Wright can take Jackson forward and be a threat on him. Jackson can't defend.
No, he can't defend, but he's going to be a lot better on the ground, and
but that's what Wright brings to it. Whereas Phillips, I think Phillips is a very good ruckman. I think it comes down to 2 things, and that's the fitness of Draper. As Draper gets older and gets fitter, so he can ruck longer in games, that's an important part of it. But it's also as Draper gets better as a forward. I think as that craft evolves, which it has this year 100%, we've seen him kick goals in every game in the last 6, I reckon, haven't we?
Yeah, until this game.
Yeah. So
because you put money on him.
Bring that up. Oh, yeah. What about the Stewart thing? So if I think about the opposition ruckman, opposition team and their ruckman, and the top few teams like Geelong, where they play Blitzcarv and what's his name, Stanley. So that's right, and Draper's a good matchup for them. I mean, Blitzcarv is a hard matchup for any bloody second ruckman. Melbourne done them. Collingwood will probably be Grundy and what's his name, Cameron.
Yep. Both big lumps of blokes, even though Grundy's a bit more.
But Cameron and Wright are very similar sort of players. They both play forward. They're going to threaten each other going the other way. So I like it. And I think that it allows a guy like Stewart to stay up there and Jones to stay up there and be threats as talls. So whereas when Phillips is there, it's too many talls. And I think the other thing
you can't play Phillips.
Yep. And you're going to get more goals out of Stewart than you are from Phillips. So for me, it's a good choice.
I have no issue with that whatsoever. Just noting that Draper and Phillips did work.
100%. But that was before Stewart came back in the team.
Anyway, next week.
Yep.
We happy? Oh. Really, all it has to be is Caldwell for Menzies, and we have to pick another sub. That's really the only.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't even mind actually if Snelling became the sub.
Ugh.
I know but
when do we play VFL?
I don't mind that. Or he goes back to and Cutler comes through to be the sub because of his ability to play a lot of roles. Because for me, Menzies looks more of a threatening small forward because he looks like he's going to kick a goal or he can still tackle. He can do all, and I think it's experience. Whereas Snelling, he still looks out of touch from that big period he's missed. I'm not saying Snelling's out of the team forever. I'm just saying that he hasn't quite got back to that form he had last year where he came third in our best and fairest.
100%.
And I think at the moment you need to reward form, and that's not his at the moment.
Not him. And a tip, please.
Oh, I'll go with us by 22.
22. I'll say us by 40.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to do our 3-2-1?
We're in a good spot. Yep, that's the last bit we've got to talk about now. You go first.
Well, I'm a bit controversial.
One out the way.
I went a bit controversial because I knew who you would go, so that's why I went who I went. So I went Merrett for the 3.
What this is about.
This is what it's all about for me. Merrett for the 3. I went BZT for the 2, and I gave the 1 to Stringer.
You're a dickhead. Let us know if you hear live what you think of that. I'm going with 3 Redman.
Yep.
And the coaches have absolutely backed me up because he got a perfect 10 coaches votes. So you can't even argue with me.
Yep. No, I can't, because you'll always look at the coaches vote, whereas I just do it on who I
do my votes and then look at the coaches votes. I do it the other way around. I don't cheat. 2 to Merrett, obviously. I mean,
38 touches, 10 inside 50s, and 8 tackles and all that sort of stuff is pretty impressive
from him. And Stringer had 1. I mean, I thought his input across the whole game fluctuates, which I still don't like, but you can't really argue with 5 goals, 3.
No.
He was getting plenty of it. So,
did he get coaches' votes?
I think so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did Hind get coaches' votes? Yeah, make that face and then look at the numbers.
Oh, you got 1.
Yeah, see, the coaches don't always get it right either, buddy. Hind got 1 and BZT didn't get any. You go work that out.
Well, Stringer got 6, so
that's fine. I'd have no problem with that.
So literally, this wasn't planned. Literally, Redman 10, Merrett 7, Stringer 6. That's the top 3, and that's exactly where my votes went. So I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, but Hind got 1. How does Hind get 1?
I don't know.
We just talked about how ordinary he was.
Yeah. Now's a good time to read the comments because someone just commented, how can you not pick Redman? What game were you watching? Cop that.
Oops. I don't disagree. Redman was the best player. Well, statistically, it was unreal. But I also,
but you didn't find a vote for him.
My issue with him was he played a great game, but you've also got to look at what role he played and who the hell he's. Who was he on?
You look. Don't
no one. I can't even tell you the player he was playing on. Like BZT was playing on a key forward, and Kelly was playing on another very big unit. Like Redman was playing on. I don't know. Was it? No, it wasn't even their ex-captain. That was Ridley was playing on him.
Still got to be in the right spot. Still got to take the mark.
Of course
still
he does.
Use the ball,
but he had the easiest role in the game.
Yeah, not the easiest, I reckon.
Who's going?
Don't even know who. Anyway, Alfie's with you. Big fan of Jimmy Stew.
Yep.
Jay Stew. And then, the comment, how can you not pick Redman?
Yep,
and same guy, Scott, also thought Hind was good. I think Hind was fine. There was just a couple of moments that really made me go, excuse me, what are you doing, Cam?
It's a couple of times, he just looked like he wasn't interested. And I don't like to see that. I know it's round 20.
You got to chase as hard when you're running defensively as you do.
Got to run both ways.
Especially as a halfback.
Yeah. I know it's round 20. The season's gone. I imagine the motivation's a bit harder at this time of the year for them. But, after the start of the year they gave us, we deserve a bit of freaking effort in the last 3.
And by and large, we've been pretty good the last 4.
Oh, he has.
So
he has brain farts, though.
He does. He's not alone in that regard. Anyway, that'll do us. No, who am I tonight? You're sick, and we've been waffling for long enough. So, any final thoughts? Awesome. Nothing else you want to add before you die again?
No.
You don't have to. It's an option.
No, well, I'm very excited about our young players. Every kid that seems to come in recently, Ambrosio, Menzies, Hobbs at the start of the year, they're really showing that, and I think this is an important part, that when you look at, we were the average age of that game, again, without Shield and Parrish and that in the team, was below North Melbourne. We were a few games below them from experience and a few months, I think, below them in average age.
Similar, which is
very similar, but still a little bit lower than them. Now,
from their
we flogged them. I think that we could comfortably say that, the scores and everything. So we're well in front of that. As an age demographic, I still think we're on a really good path of trajectory. I know teams like probably Freo would be better than us from an age perspective. They're going to lose Monday now. So that's going to totally change their age. And, Carlton's had a great year. Collingwood's having a great year, and they're both young teams too. So, it's all taken in consideration. But I'm really excited about the young players that are playing at the club, and that to me every week brings me joy. So I'll keep looking for that next week and the week after.
The key will be rounds 1 to 8 or 9 next year. I want to see some of this form. We can't start next year like we've started the last 2 years. Even though last year we made finals, 11 wins should never get you finals. So really,
we're going to finish with possibly 9 wins this year, aren't we?
Could get 10, I think.
It would be weird. To think that we're one less than last year, which we would have said at the start of the year was where we probably predicted.
What we thought. Yeah,
exactly. And then we still think this is a bad year. I did hear Redman after the game interviewed saying that he that they've changed their style. Like it was a little bit too complicated, the defending at the start of the year. That I think with a young team they found it a bit hard, and they've gone back to a more simplistic style.
I like it. So
that'll be interesting if they try and become more complicated next year, or they just stick with this and try and evolve it. Try and evolve it as the year goes on.
So just get better at it. All right, that'll do us.
Sorry, I ranted.
You did rant. That's fine. I invited that. Thank you for listening wherever you are. Appreciate you as always, and we'll chat to you next week. Go Dons.
Go Bombers.